What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update for you guys today, and there have been developments in a few certain situations for Tottenham Hotspur. But let's start off with Manor Solomon. Fabrizio Romano confirms that medical tests were planned for later today but will now take place on Thursday morning. No issues, just rescheduled in the last few hours. Solomon will sign his contracts this week as documents have been checked. Deal is done. And Manor Solomon as well, his agent has been coming out and saying that in addition to Tottenham, Aston Villa, West Ham and RB Leipzig also wanted him. So Spurs got ahead of the competition on this one.
Yeah, I'm assuming on a free transfer, and being a young winger who's played in the Premier League already now, he's going to come with some interest. Obviously, he scored a few goals as well. I am excited about this deal. I'm excited what he can do in a Tottenham shirt in a new environment, what we can do with the quality that he has. And I do think that his quality, what he's good at, will actually be quite beneficial to how Ange wants to play his wingers. I just don't know how what level he's going to be at the moment when we sign him. Whether he's going to be that long term, that young winger basically who can make a proper impact at this club, or is he just going to be a constant squad player and then moved on in a few years? I guess the jury's out on that. But I am excited with his dribbling ability, his pace. Obviously, he's got really good finishing ability as well. He's still young, so he's got to work on his flaws, but he does have those flaws.
Yeah, I mean, it's there for everyone to see in the data, but when you're looking at the data as well, like you say, like he does have a lot of very strong points that Ange, that will suit very well into an Ange system. And I think when you're looking at the dribbling stats, he's actually probably more suited to an Ange system than maybe Heung-min Son is on that left-hand side. Obviously, Heung-min Son has bundles more quality than someone like a Manor Solomon, but I'm very excited to see what he brings, to be honest. And I think Ange can bring him on leaps and bounds as well in this Tottenham team, in this Tottenham system. So I'm very excited to see what the future holds for Manor Solomon. And obviously, because he's from Israel, he holds a special place as well. So that's Manor Solomon. Let's talk about Mickey van de Ven now, as Charlie Eccleshare says that Tottenham and Wolfsburg are getting closer to an agreement for Mickey van de Ven, growing confidence that Spurs will complete the signing for around £30 million. Fabrizio Romano says that Mickey van de Ven's camp told Wolfsburg of the player's strong desire to join Spurs. Negotiations are underway between Tottenham and Wolfsburg. He's among the top targets as revealed last week. Dan Kilpatrick says that Tottenham are yet to make an official approach for van de Ven amid strong interest. Along with Van de Ven, Tottenham are still monitoring Edmund Tapsoba, Tosin Adarabioyo and Clement Longley. Mike from The Telegraph out in Holland says that the visit of Mickey van de Ven, his father Marcel and his agent Rodriguez to England was extremely effective. The defender has an excellent feeling about Tottenham coach Ange Postecoglou and reached personal agreement with the club with a contract until 2028. And Sky Sports says that Tottenham are in advanced talks with Wolfsburg over signing defender Mickey van de Ven. So this one is creeping along very nicely.
Definitely. Obviously, the talk is that we're only going to sign one of him or Tapsoba, and we haven't quite made the decision, but it looks as though we're leaning towards the Van de Ven, seeing as that deal is progressing a lot quicker. He's clearly going to be a decent amount cheaper as well than Tapsoba. Obviously, left-footed, young, really tall, good on the ball, good ball carrier. It does definitely excite me. I think £30 million as well in this day and age for a young centre-back with that amount of ability as well is a pretty good deal. I am happy with him. I do think he comes in and he does improve our centre-back options immediately, and he is a big upgrade on what we had. And especially a player, it's very rare to get a player of that height and that kind of pace as well, that kind of duality, and also comfortable on the ball. It's quite a rare mix of qualities that he has. So that's really exciting. However, the caveat is he only really broke into the Wolfsburg team last season. Before that, the season before that, he was on the bench, and then I think he was out in Holland before that.
He was at Volendam, yeah.
So it's not as Tapsoba's a different story. He's been playing top level football for a few years now. He's definitely been playing at a high level more consistently, and he's probably at a high level at the moment. So if I'm choosing between the two, and the data as well suggests Tapsoba is still at a high level right now, which we'll get into later. But Van de Ven, if we do sign him, I am happy with it. But I just think it is a bit of a risk if we're weighing up the two. We're putting our eggs in the Van de Ven basket. But I still am excited about that potential deal. I do think, again, we're going for him because he's cheaper, not because he's better. But I do also feel like in a year's time, he could be just as good as Tapsoba.
I'm actually I like Van de Ven, and I think he's got a really high ceiling. But right now, in this current state of play, in terms of the two defenders, I think Tapsoba is a mile better than Van de Ven. But when you're looking at Van de Ven, the kind of strong points he does have to his game is obviously on the ball, his speed. But where he like kind of maybe isn't showing well on the data is his aerial ability and how good he is as an actual defender. Are you worried about that? With someone so tall, why is his aerial stats so bad?
No, I couldn't answer that. I have to like look into why he seems to struggle, because you would thought maybe he's not that strong. Maybe he's more like lanky, like some like, you know, Crouch. Who obviously Crouch was good in the air, but maybe it's not necessarily he's aerially dominant. Maybe he can be bullied a bit, even though he's quite tall. I don't know what his strength is like. Clearly he's very quick, but maybe there's a trade-off between pace and strength, and maybe that's where he's lacking. Look, he's still 22. So he clearly has time on his side. Maybe at 25, that'll be a different story. He'll all of a sudden be a very dominant defender. But maybe at 22, he's still young. He's still building that core strength. And maybe that's what's holding him back a bit right now.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Edmund Tapsoba. Romano says that contacts with Edmund Tapsoba are still ongoing. As of now, deal is on. Paul O'Keefe says that Tottenham are teeing off moves for both Tapsoba and Mickey van der Ven and will decide on one eventually. This frustrates me, to be honest. It really does frustrate me, because I think like both of them, Tapsoba and Van der Ven, both have different skill sets which could both fit in the squad at the same time. You're looking at Tapsoba, who can fill in at right and left centre-back. You're looking at Van der Ven, who can fill in at left-back and left centre-back. So me personally, I'd love to see both through the door, but I've said all along I can't see both happening, and that seems to be the case.
But I don't understand, because we've cut the we saved 20 million on the goalkeeper by going for Vicario. We've saved a hell of a lot of money on going for Solomon instead of signing a winger for, say, 20 million, or it could even be more than that. If we wanted to sign a winger, we're probably looking at 25, 30. We've saved a lot of money there. So where's that money going? Why isn't that money just being invested in two top centre-backs? Where is the logic here? Like, I don't.
Maybe that money wasn't available in general, and that's why we're going for the cheaper targets.
I'm sorry, I don't buy that at all. We could spend that money if we wanted to. We're going for. We could have got Raya if we really wanted to. We just would rather not spend that money. I think that money is there. I know we're out of Europe, but our finances are good. We're one of the profitable teams in Europe in terms of how much money we make. You know, we've got a stream of concerts and events coming up, NFL contracts. There is no shortage of money at this club. So yes, the season out of Europe is going to hurt us, but is it going to hurt us to the extent that when we're spending the amount of money we're spending, we have to still choose between 230 million centre-backs instead of getting both? I think the money should be there to be able to get both, especially we haven't factored in yet money that we're going to recoup. Hopefully there's a decent amount. I'm not saying it's going to be amazing, but I'm sure we'll be able to recoup. Let's say, you know, we already got 10 for Winks. Let's say you got another 10 for like Sanchez. There's a bit of money coming in as well. Like, hopefully maybe you get 10 or 15 for Lo Celso. So there should be enough money to say, if we really want these two centre-backs, we can get them if they're both willing to come. I don't see like financially what should be holding us back too much. Look, especially as we haven't spent massively in the other areas.
This is bloody Tottenham Hotspur. This is what we have to deal with every transfer window at the end of the day, and I didn't see it changing, and it's not changing. It's clearly not changing. And it's very frustrating, because when you're looking at those two players to come in, like, it would set our defence leaps and bounds to what it is right now. Like, when you're looking at now, if we only sign Van der Ven and we're going to be short at left back, let's say we want to play Van der Ven at left back for a game, that means we're going to have to struggle with an Eric Dyer or a Clement Longley or someone cheap at the left centre back role. And that will make us so much weaker in defence, when you could have Tapsoba, like I said, that can fill both roles, and Van der Ven, and they're both so versatile in those two positions. Like, I think it's an absolute no-brainer to go for both. And even not only to go for both, to bring in Tosin as well. Bring in all three. If you bring in all three, that's your defence sorted for the next, 5 years minimum.
And the annoying thing is like the solution is just staring us in the face. It's right there in front of us, and we won't reach out and grab it, because we would rather leave. We'll probably justify it by saying, the money's not here, and next summer we'll go for it. And like every season we hear the same thing. Just like last time, we'll go for Longley for a year, and then we'll really go for our actual targets. And this year we might sign one centre back, but that's not enough. We need a complete renovation of that area of the pitch, and signing one centre back isn't going to do that. We need to completely change up that role, and we can't be having players like Dyer, Sanchez, Longley anywhere near that, or Tanganga right now anywhere near that area of the pitch. We need a complete rejuvenation, but we need to be signing players like Tapsoba and Van de Ven. One isn't enough, but look. Hopefully they pull out a surprise, but at the moment it looks like they're only going to go for one. It looks like if they're going to spend 30 million in Obi and one centre-back.
I do believe that we will bring in 2 centre-backs, but I just don't believe it'll be those 2. I think it'll be one of Van de Ven and Tosin plus another, which will probably be the guy that we're going to speak about next, and that is Tosin Adarabioyo. Santi Auna says that Spurs are expected to contact Fulham this week to learn the conditions of a deal for Tosin Adarabioyo, but many clubs are interested. So, I mean, it makes sense in terms of the way Spurs like to do their business. If you go and get Van de Ven for 30 million, Tosin for 10 to 15 million, I mean, that's still 2 really good upgrades. But again, we should be getting all 3 in. There's no reason why we shouldn't be getting all 3 in with the massive holes in our squad. So I would imagine, you go into next season with right centre-backs, Coutinho Romero, Tosin Adarabioyo, left centre-backs, you've got VDV and Tapsoba. Not only that, but Van de Ven can also play at left back to cover Udogie, and you can also maybe bring in a Dorrington or have Eric Dyer there as the 5th choice as well. So I think that's the way we have to go, and we have to move forward.
Correct. Again, I think Tosin makes sense in terms of he's cheap, he's homegrown,
and he's very good.
I think he's good. I mean, look. He is good. I wouldn't say he's very good. I think he's proven to be good at the moment for Fulham, and he hasn't been I think he was there a couple seasons ago when they got relegated, and then he stuck with them. Last season, I think he played about 25 games. Wasn't starting every game, but he did play majority. But I do think he's a good player. I do think he's better backup than anything we have. I definitely think he's better than Sanchez. So I think it makes sense if he's a cheap deal, but I wouldn't want him rather than someone like a Tapsoba who's be like a real challenge. I don't see Tosin as someone who's coming and is going to be a real challenge for the first team. I think it's almost as if we're signing him knowing he's in the backup, it feels. And whereas Tapsoba and Van de Ven, you're signing 2 centre-backs who are not just here to be backup, they're here to really challenge each other, push each other and be competitive. And maybe Tosin can surprise me and a few other people by actually challenging seriously for the first team if he comes. But I feel like we're only getting him because he's cheap and he's going to play the backup role.
I've kind of always been impressed with him. Well, not always, but especially last season. Whenever I saw him play, I was kind of impressed with him. I thought the ball playing ability is really good. As a defender as well, I thought he defends well. I think he'll fit in well at Spurs. And when you're looking at maybe when Coutinho Romero's out injured or he goes gallivanting to Argentina earlier than maybe he should be, I think Tosin will be an adequate backup, definitely a better backup than what we have right now. So I'll be 100% for the Tosin deal. But if it is a case of us only bringing in VDV and Tosin, I would be happy with it. But I'll just be feel a bit let down because we were so close to signing, Tapsoba, and we wouldn't get him over the line. And he's probably much better of a defender than the other 2.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's 2 bad additions. I just don't I guess the frustrating thing is you could, with one other signing, you can really just fully sort out that
revolutionize.
Defense. And now it's just like you're building towards it, but I still don't think it's fully there with just those 2 signings.
Yeah. Next up, let's talk about another Israeli star being linked to Spurs, and that is Oscar Gluck. Ed Aaron says that Tottenham, Arsenal, Man City and Manchester United have all inquired about the 19-year-old attacking midfielder who plays for RB Salzburg and Israel under-21s. I mean, we've heard about this guy for quite a while now, Oscar Gluck. He does seem like the next up-and-coming big thing coming out of Israel. I'm sure we'll see more about him on the weekend when England face Israel in I think it's the World Cup semi-final of the under-21s. Euros, of the under-21s. So I'll be for this transfer, to be honest. But I think if we do bring him in, it's going to be one where, it's going to be a long time maybe before we see him in the first team.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I've seen too much apart from a few clips here and there on the internet, on YouTube. But he's only just signed for Salzburg last summer, so he's only been there for a year. I believe he played 15 games, got 2 goals, 2 assists. For a 19-year-old, it's not bad. Obviously, he's been highly sought after. A lot of teams looking at him. So I mean, it seems like an exciting player, young attacking midfielder as well. Maybe he could be one of the players in the long term, could play one of those number 8 positions. So if we can get a good deal for him, seeing as there's a lot of competition, I'd be interested. But I don't see this one Tottenham pushing this summer. But I'll be surprised if we do get this over the line. He's only been there a year, so I wonder what kind of fee they're going to ask for him.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind maybe getting a deal over the line where you pay a certain fee and you loan him back to Salzburg for another year, something like that. I think that would be a really smart piece of business. But look, we'll have to see how it rumbles on. When you look at the likes of Arsenal, Man City and Man United also interested, it's going to be very difficult, isn't it? So let's talk about Davison Sanchez now. Mati Moretto says that Villarreal looked to Davison Sanchez as a substitute for Pau Torres. Fenerbahce, Galatasaray and Spartak Moscow are also interested. I mean, that's a big downgrade, Pau Torres for Davison Sanchez.
Yeah, I'm surprised if they seriously want to replace like for like in that sense, because it definitely doesn't represent someone who's similar quality, in my opinion, especially on the ball. It's like night and day. So I'd be surprised if Villarreal signed just him and no one else as well. But look, it'll be good to get a bit of a bidding war going and hopefully drive the price up a little bit. I don't see Tottenham. They want 15 million euros. I don't really see them getting to that mark. But I think the offer from Fenerbahce was 9 million. So maybe you can drive it to about 12 with other clubs getting involved. That'd be fantastic.
Who would have thought we would have a bidding war for Davison Sanchez, eh? Who would have thought
Not me. I thought we couldn't give him away before. All of a sudden, everyone wants him.
Yeah, to be fair though, like there does seem to be interested in apart from Eric Dyer, all these players that we want to get rid of. There does seem to be interest, so I guess that's a really good thing. And when you're looking at, yesterday we were talking about Van de Ven. I can't remember who broke the report saying it, but they were saying that Van de Ven will be the last signing before we start to replace our outgoings. And if we're getting a lot of interest for these players, it's only good news for us. Yeah,
and let's hope we get them out very quick, sooner rather than later. I was reading Ali Gold's article yesterday. He said there were three goals of this transfer window, missions, he said, or something like that. The first one is to upgrade in key positions like goalkeeper, centre back, attacking midfielder, winger. Seems as though we're really attacking those positions quite vociferously. The second one is let go of what's called be cognizant of deals for unexpected players like Højbjerg, who potentially could leave, and then look to replace them immediately if we do sell them. And then it's also getting fees for unwanted players. So it looks as though Tottenham are trying to get as much done in this window as possible. And look, if we can get good fees if we do get good fees for these players, there's no reason to not push Spurs out a tiny little bit more and actually get those centre back targets that you want, which is frustrating. But it will be good if we can get the players that we want out the door.
Why I'm happy about this window though is because for the first time in ages, it seems as though we're actually targeting specific positions in the transfer window. Ever since before, even last summer, just seemed to be a bit of a scattergun approach of just getting deals over the line for players that maybe are good players, but maybe not the ones that we desperately need. This year, it does seem like maybe we're still going for the cheaper option, but we're actually targeting specific positions where we actually need. So I guess that's good.
I mean, I would argue we did that under Jose, but we did again. We got like Doherty and we got Roden, and we did go for the cheaper option, hoping.
But now
we're different.
But we're going for like a younger caliber of player with high ceilings instead of just going for random players in those positions.
That's true, and hopefully it's more data driven as well. It does seem to me though, the frustrating thing is that every step, every deal, apart from maybe the Maddison deal, every step we do seem to be opting for always the cheaper option rather than the better option. But we'll see how it turns out. As long as it's following the data and we're confident that the players that we are signing can be just as good as the players that we're missing out on, then it'll be okay. But it's again a bit frustrating that it just seems to be the board doing very similar things, but it does seem to be in a bit more. It does seem to be in a different way, at least.
Yeah, it seems to be in a tactical approach, that's for sure, attacking this transfer window. But look, that is your Tottenham update for now. Hopefully we'll be back later with some more news. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.